Hi, I'm Sabat and this is third episode of my Sorcerer's Guide, where we'll focus mostly on staying alive. So let's start with the reasons why do you even die. And the first of them is getting one-shotted. It has been a problem for mages since the game was released, but nowadays we have twice as much HP as mages few years ago. One-shots still happen though, especially at lower levels, where we have a lot less HP. So to counter them, we'll build as much effective HP as possible, and as you gain experience, you'll learn to anticipate one-shots so you can use magic shield or other defenses right before they happen, so you don't die. And for those pushing the limits, you will usually find yourself at a spot where you will be losing more HP than you can heal, and for that reason, from time to time, you can just run away from the monsters or just stop pulling for a bit so you can heal up, or you can also use some defenses like mana shield or might ring or some defensive amulet maybe, just to heal yourself to full, and then you will be able to come back to the monsters and keep on going. Starting with the ways of increasing our hit pool, firstly we have a newly introduced barrier mechanic, which will give us around 30% of extra maximum life when sitting at around 70 to 80% of mana, so remember to keep your mana high, but we don't actually want to proc it, as it consumes a lot of mana. It's more like our safety buffer, but when you do, just play it safely for a moment until your mana comes back. You can also just eat a small dish that gives 30% of mana back. It costs only 90k and you won't lose your tempo that way. And because we have it as our safety buffer, we don't actually have to mind being at light red HP, so when hitting red HP at high mana, you still have about half of your hit pool before you die, so no need to panic, you still have your blue life. Our red life is not equal to Paladin's or Knight's red life. Next we have real life that we can gain from Wheel of Destiny, mostly from gems, but each point in perks shown on screen will give us 1 life. Other stats like mana capacity or mitigation gained that way are irrelevant, only life matters, but when it comes to the gems, life gems are the best on lower and mid levels, so up to like level 1000, and I recommend finding 4 of these and upgrading them as soon as possible. Finding them will cost you around 10kk depending on your luck, and upgrading is another 37kk, but I assure you this is the best way to spend your money early on, so you can have like 40% more life around level 200 to 300, and maximum HP is actually the biggest limiting factor for low levels when it comes to unlocking new content and hunting harder spawns. On higher levels it will be better to switch to resistance gems based on the spots where we'll be hunting, mostly to reduce this negative balance between our damage taken and healing. Third way to increase our effective hit pool will be by reducing the damage income. Our resistances will play the biggest role in that. They can be found in gems as previously mentioned, but they mostly come from our equipment, so when gearing up for a spot you want to dress accordingly. For example, when going for Isavi hunt, you equip earth and fire resistances. When hunting a Zillion castle, you go for death and fire, and you get the idea. Only after you feel safe enough, you switch to the gear which is more offensive. Jewelry needs to be mentioned here as it provides stupid amount of respective resistances for literally no cost, so it should be switched as last. But remember that you need to watch it closely, as most of the amulets have charges, and not noticing that you have lost it will cause you to take a lot of extra damage and can lead to your death, so keep watch on your amulets. On Magma amulets, Glacier and Lightning pendants. For Earth will be mostly using Theurgic, even though it has less resistances than Terra amulet, but it also provides armor and physical resistances which will pay for this difference. Another honorable mention comes to imbuements. They are relatively cheap. Usually you pay like 25k for an hour of using each. You should always have one in your spellbook, and when using them in spellbooks, if you're going for a spot that mostly deals energy damage, you don't use Spirit Guide, which has native energy protection, but instead you imbue energy protection, for example in Brain in a Jar or Arcanomancer Folio. Putting them in armors is a little more complicated on mages, as most of our armors only have one slot, which is going to be usually filled by Life Leech. So to get one in mage armor you need to get Soul Mantle, or if you're watching it as druid, so Soul Shroud will be the soul armor for you. There's also a way around called Dwarven Armor. It's almost as good as Soul Mantle, but it lacks the 4 magic levels. And by the way, magic level is also defensive statistic for us, because it will amplify our healing. There are also Elven Mails, which are even cheaper, and they are the only armors with 3 slots for imbuements, but they are mostly meant for higher levels, where defensives are crucial for hunting, and there are spots that hit with 2 or 3 different elementals. I have also a little tip for lower levels and for people that don't have a high budget. You don't really need vampirism for lower levels, so you can imbue each of the resistance in Toga Mortis. So what you want to do is to buy like 5 or 6 of them and imbue every possible element, and you also do the same on spellbook. For that reason the best spellbook will be Spirit Guide, which has 4 magic levels and is relatively cheap. We can't imbue energy in this, but for imbuing energy we can just use Brain Jar or another spellbook. And by doing that we will be geared for pretty much every spot in the game, and we'll do it in like 10kk or less. A lot of damage reduction will also come from our curse. You just need to activate it once, and then every monster you hit will deal 10% less damage, so we'll be using it pretty much everywhere when it comes to hunting solo. There is also a dodge mechanic, which can be gained by upgrading your armor in Forge, but it grants relatively low defenses when compared to its price, so I'm just mentioning it. You can't even rely on it, as its chance to activate is quite low, so how I actually think of it is a source of extra healing. Instead of mitigating the damage, I think of it as just having an extra heal equal to the damage taken from hit that activated it. Same outcome but different logic. Tiers on other parts of equipment also increases our defenses by a bit. For example, momentum will make us use max vita more often, and avatars from Transcendence grant a lot of percentage damage reduction, and also increase our healing from Leech from guaranteed critical strikes. In my opinion, if you want to spend your money for tiers, dodge will be the worst option. And to finish the topic of damage reduction, we also have these 3 mechanics that do exist, but are actually not worth mentioning. We can't really influence the amount of armor we have, we'll just get it from equipment. Better equipment will give us more armor, and in great simplification, each point of armor will reduce our physical damage taken by 1. Same goes for mantra for elemental resistances, but the only way to get mantra is via Monk's passive in Wheel of Destiny. Defense is actually quite interesting mechanic, as it will reduce damage taken from first to melee attacks each turn, which is nice when safe kiting. It scales with not only defense from our shield, but also with shielding, but the shielding will be stuck at around level 30 for most of the mages. When it comes to mitigation, we can scale it via will, but since it works for all of the damage, its values are so low that it's better to just go for resistances. And if you think that you can get more effective life by using mitigation gems instead of normal life, yes, it's true, but someone calculated it, and I don't remember exact numbers, but you need something about level 10,000 or so to make it work. For now, it's not worth to go for mitigation and just forget about it. Next part of our defense is healing. As mages we have the best healing spells in the game, Exura Vita and Exura Max Vita. You can have them on two separate hotkeys, but what I am recommending is merging them via multi-action button and just spamming it. It's especially helpful when using Beam Mastery or Momentum, so you will always use Max Vita when you have it, and it allows you to turn your brain off when it comes to healing and focus on other things. On very low levels, you will be probably using Exura Gran because it consumes less mana than Exura Vita, and you should stop using Exura Gran once it stops healing you by at least 2/3 of your life. Then just switch to Exura Vita. There is also Life Leech. Early on you don't even need to use it, because Exura Vita will heal you to full HP every time, but we'll still get it from the Lion Wand that we get on 250, and it's very good wand, so there is no reason to not use it. The amount of target hits doesn't really matter for Life Leech, you just need one big hit, so spells with bigger base damage will give you more healing, and this is actually one of the reasons why beams are so strong later on. There is also the two charms, minor charms, that give extra leech, one for mana leech and one for life leech. So you should always try to use them on monsters that take the highest damage from your spells. So for example, when hunting on Isavi and using Death Rotation, you want to have them on Feral Sphinxes, because they take more death damage than Goannas. But these two minor charms are not game changing, so you don't need them everywhere. Another crucial part of our defense is speed, even though it may not seem like a defensive stat, but with more speed you will be kiting monsters more efficient and taking less damage while doing so. It's also easier to avoid traps with more speed, or just run away if you need to do it. So if you're close to achieving your next speed breakpoint, consider using time rings or mount, or maybe boots with extra speed imbued, or just void boots. It might help you a lot. When it comes to dangerous situations that can lead to our death, let's start with huge damage income. If your life is running dangerously low and you cannot outheal the damage, or you're expecting to take a lot of damage while, for example, turning around, the first thing you should think about are magic shield and defensive jewelry. So for amulets, these are drill amulets or prismatic necklaces or the elemental ones, and for rings, either prismatic ring or might ring, which is actually the best of all the rings, but it's also quite expensive. When you use Utamovita, just heal to full HP and then take it off, so you don't lose all of this mana for nothing. And while doing so, you can also just try to run away a little from monsters, so you maybe lose a few of them, but don't forget to grab them again when you are already on full HP, and just thin their numbers. Stop pulling more for a moment, just run a lap around and kill all the monsters, so you don't take a lot of damage and you don't overlure yourself. You can also rely on a life leech from Yui or from beams. They will provide a lot of life leech. And if you're running low on mana, you can just eat consecrated beef. It's a dish for 90k from House NPC. It will give you 30% of your maximum mana, so you will be able to use the barrier and refuel it a little. And remember not to have your barrier procced. If it happens, it happens, but you want to avoid it. Even tougher situations are traps. If you know you'll be caught in one, try to get near wall or to a corner so you're not full boxed. And the first thing you should do is using your Utamovita to reconsider the situation you're in. If you don't have enough mana for whole Utamovita, eat either small or big dish. If the trap is really hard, then you don't want to use small dish because it shares cooldown with a big dish from Jin. You should also wear some might rings and defensive amulets, and no, you don't need to use stone skins or sacreds or shockwaves. They are best in slots for traps, but only if you can use them consistently, because if you equip just one or two for whole trap, it will provide less value than any other amulet, and you can get one-shotted easier. They require a lot of attention and some practice with them, so I've seen many people fixated on stone skins, and they are fixated so much that they forget to heal or attack the monster. When in trap, if it's not possible for you to get one-shotted, then try to block it on HP, switch to Tamovita on low HP, just to heal back to full. For harder traps that can one-shot you, keep your magic shield on, as you don't want to have your barrier procced. It will drain a lot of mana from you, and you don't want to lose all this mana just for mitigating 500 damage. Also, there are two get out for free spells that you can use while in trap. First is Avatar, which will give you a lot of damage and some protection, so you can clear the trap easier and get out faster. There is also Familiar, which can set you free by exiting the monsters from you, although he might die before doing so, so it's not 100% reliable. Another trick is summoning crabs or demon skeletons, so monsters from far away that are not in the box will shoot them first instead of you, but be aware as they can pull more monsters towards you. When trapped by the monsters that cannot walk through some kind of field, you can use Bomb on yourself. It will cost you 1 damage turn, but after killing a monster in the box, another one won't take its spot. Let's take a look at one of the traps that I found on my channel. I've got boxed by 5 Koras, but there are a lot of looters around and they can one-shot me easily, so I decided to block it on mana. Amulet and Koras were already on, so I didn't have to switch them, but I'm using might rings and I'm watching them carefully as I focus all my damage on one Kora that has the lowest HP. Unfortunately, once it died, another one took its spot. It can happen, but I just evacuated using Familiar, otherwise I would need to cake. There won't be much more action in this guide, but instead I've got something I'm pretty sure you will like: multi-action buttons. So, starting with the first one, we have something I've already told you about. Extra Vita with Max Vita allows you to mindlessly spam this hotkey and get the best value out of your healing. Next we have Familiar with Avatar, useful to have them both under the same hotkey while in trap. Third one's Utamovita with Magic Shield Potion. This will ensure your mana shield is always available despite cooldowns and the group cooldowns, although it will not work when you are feared, so be aware of that. And it had killed me that way, so I've got rid of it. Now I'm using 2 separate hotkeys for them. There is no danger for you if you're not doing bosses or hunting places that do fear. If unlike me you like to have cakes and dishes on your keyboard, you can set them together, but for that to work you must have only one cupcake, or steak if you set them in opposite order as I have shown on the screen. And lastly, Yui with Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is a pricey potion from Drom that resets your cooldowns, but it might be helpful to get out of trap faster. You can also add Avatar in there, just for way more damage. So that will be it, thanks for watching, and remember, by maxing out your defenses, you will be able to kite more monsters at a time, and more monsters equals more monsters hit by your spells, this equals more damage, and this equals more XP gained. See ya!